Uh, it's kind of unusual situation for me because I was asked yesterday about giving this presentation and because one of our speakers is sick. So I'm going to talk about robusting unit testing in Android in general. So I'm going to show you some techniques how to make your test more readable and how to make them better. Um, So my name is Piotr. I'm an Android developer at Grid Dynamics for 3 days. So uh, I just recently changed my job. You can find me on Twitter, but I'm not a Twitter guy. I do not tweet a lot. But if you want to reach me, you can reach me at Slisky Code. So let's begin. We're gonna be talking about a little bit about app architecture, about tools that we have for unit testing, and I will show you some code samples. We're gonna have live coding as well. I hope it's gonna be good. And I'm gonna share some tips and tricks for unit testing. So, MVP, MVVM helps you write better unit tests. Do you think it's right or not? Who thinks that it's true? Okay, I think that it's not true. It's a pattern on the UI side of our apps. So it gives us the separation of UI presentation. So of course we can have the we can test the presentation using unit tests, but we can do a lot of mess with that. So it's not going to help us with unit tests. We can write unit tests, but we can do it without assertions, or we can do a lot of bad things for our friends. So next one, clean architecture helps you write better unit tests. Who think that this is true? Okay, I think that it's not true. Why? Because also clean architecture can help you separate the business logic from the presentation logic, from the UI and everything, but also you can make some mistakes in use cases. So it can help you write unit tests, but not write better unit tests. So that's why I cannot agree with that. Probably you know this diagram from the clean architecture. Pretty cool, huh? So MVP, MVVM, and clean architecture can help you write better code. What do you think about that? Oh, just 3 people. So I think that it is kind of true because with separation of your logic, your code can be better. And it can help you write better code, but there are some techniques from extreme programming like TDD or pair programming or things like that. It can lead you to have better code. Test first approach helps you write better code. What about that? Test first approach. And what about TDD? Raise your hands. Don't be shy. There's one guy, a shy guy here, so it's enough. Okay, so I think that test-first approach is really great, but it's strictly connected with test-driven development. But I think that people get it wrong. People try to TDD everything and to say, if you do not use TDD, you're a bad programmer. That's not true. You can write tests even after writing the code, and if they are good and if they are readable, it's okay. I know guys, really skilled guys, and they don't use TDD, and the test first approach and the code looks pretty good and tests are readable. I can read that test and I can understand everything, so yeah. Okay, so the next one. Tools, languages, and skills help you write better unit tests. What do you think about that? Raise your hands, all of you. Hopefully, yes, tools. So we have a lot of tools, we have a lot of languages right now. We have Groovy, we have Java, we have even Kotlin now, really hype language from our JetBrains team. So that's really cool. And we have skills. So skills are something, you know, something different. You have to have skills to write better unit tests. You can learn from other skilled guys, but it's something that you cannot read from the books, I think. So we have a lot of tools. We have JUnit 5. I will not talk about JUnit 5. I will give you samples in JUnit 4 a little bit. We have PowerMock. Nah. We have Mockito. We have Spec. So Spec is something new from Hadi Hariri from JUnit. I haven't used it in production, so I cannot tell you anything new or anything useless. And we have Spock framework. Spock doesn't have any icon or any logo. That's why I made it up. I thought that is going to be really cool to have Spock in the logo and Groovy because it's written in Groovy. So this is my imagination right here. Okay, so talking is cheap, right? Because I'm not gonna, I didn't want to give you any sad presentation with only slides, so I prepare some code samples. So we're gonna change to IDE. Of course, our favorite IDE, IntelliJ platform. Okay, so we're gonna test a method. I will show you the method here. So we have our presenter class and we have method present. Can you see it? Is it clear? Yes? Okay. So as you can see, we have one method here with two parameters, age and country. And what we have inside, we have view. So we are checking if view is not null. So then if the view is not null, we're gonna invoke this code and we're gonna check if it's Poland. Then we will give to the user message in Polish, and if not, if it's England, we're gonna give the message in English. So that's pretty easy. From this code I can say that I'm gonna test if view is not connected with the presenter maybe, or I will test the parameters. The age parameter is here not so important, but the country is. So we're gonna check what we have in our tests. First we're gonna go with JUnit. So as I said, the country parameter is pretty serious right here. So we want to parameterize our tests. So maybe the first one. So we have to here enclosed test runner, and that allows you to run test in nested classes. So we have here, it's a really cool trick how to use parameterized test and normal test in just one class. So the first one is pretty easy. Test should not show any message when there is no view. So there is nothing to do wrong here, or maybe it is. Can you tell me what is wrong with this test? Like, what is bad here? What can you see bad here? Like bad practice or something? Raise your hand and say if you know. Everything is okay? Okay. Okay. Yes, so we have a couple of problems here. First, I think naming is a problem, and some noise that someone put here in the code. So maybe we're gonna start with test. This shouldn't be here because we have annotation test, so it's a noise in our test. Given when then is a simulation of some framework, so it's just a noise. When we have 3 lines of code and we can clearly understand what those lines do, we can just strip it off because it's noise. It generates a lot of noise, and we don't want boilerplate or the noise. The noise is even worse than boilerplate. Then we have another problem here because tests should contain only test logic, and now we have something like creation a tested class. So here also we can put here, and now I think it's better now. It's more concise, so it's better. What else we can change here? Do you know what else we can change here? Okay. Okay, but if you know in JUnit, when you run test, each class create an object of a class and it's gonna be invoked every time. So you are not gonna use the same instance of view here. So it's not a problem, but the problem is the noise, of course. Here we can see the private final. Come on, who is gonna access those fields? Our different tests? No, so we can strip it out. Like, we don't need this noise. That's ugly. Okay, so we can go further, and in my opinion, naming is really, really important in tests. So here I think we should refactor this to view, because it's just a view. And I use these conventions that when I create a mock of some class, I add a postfix mock, because then I know in tests, when the class test is really big, I know that I can verify on it, because you cannot verify on objects. So for me, it's a really nice practice. Also, what you can do here, you can see that the name of the main activity presenter is also pretty bad. So I think that a really good idea is to just name it tested. So now it looks quite better. It was just a simple test, and we can make a lot of mistakes, and we just don't know that we are doing that. Or maybe you know. Then we have the second nested class here, parameterized tests. Who likes parameterized tests in JUnit? Raise your hand. Okay, that pure parameterized test, not with any other tools. I think that it has a lot of boilerplate. It's kind of cool, but come on, if I want to run this test 2 times with some parameters, do I have to create a constructor and fields and private fields? It's just a noise. So again, we can rename the members of classes, reduce the noise. What else we can do? We can reduce the private accessors, and we can delete events. What else is here bad? Sometimes people name the test method beginning with the name of the tested method. So we test the present method, so they put the present. But it's kind of bad, because we don't want to do that. It's a noise. We know that we're going to test this method. In the cool world, we should have just one method in a class, in a interface, and then test it. And all other dependencies should be inside or outside. That depends what patterns do we using. But yeah, so this is pretty bad. I think that we have 73 lines of code, and I think that we should do something without that, with this. And here we can use some tools. What we have? I told you that there is something like Spock framework. So I'm gonna show you how to write the same test in Spock in Groovy. So what we can do here, In Spock, we have only 39 lines of code, and it's pretty concise, and we have the same functionality. So the first test from the first nested class is here. So maybe I'm going to move it here. We don't have to repeat creation of this objects anymore. Also, Spock has a mock framework inside, so we don't have to use Mockito. Here, there is a Mockito inside, but we don't see it. And what we have here, we have when then, so there's no noise here. When then is a feature of the framework, so it's woohoo, it's really nice. And we have verification. So what we here have, we have should not show any message when there is no view. And this is what we want to test. So the presenter is invoked with 2 parameters, and we are checking if the 0 times show message is invoked with whatever there is. So we can say whatever. And that's pretty concise, but comparing it to this test, I think the readability is the same. The other one is pretty different. It uses data-driven approach and Spock, and as you can see, I can declare where statement, and I could put here a parameters to my tests. It's like a table, and we know that we like tables. We like all kind of people like tables. So I think it's really easy to read and really easy to understand. So what we are doing here, we're going to invoke our test with 2 set of parameters, and we're going to check if the method show message is invoked. Also, what is really good in Spock framework, we can name our test using sentences. So this is really readable, I guess. Even if you have reports from the JUnit test reports, you can check them and you can read them like a statement. What else you have here? You can see that in the name there is a hash message. So you can put your parameters values into the name test. So I will run those tests and I will show you what I'm talking about. Because talking is cheap, I'm going to show you some results. So, do you have any questions to this? Because if not, you know everything. So here we have the results, and the results are the sentences, and the parameters age, the message is inside the name of the method. So it's a pretty convenient way to have your reports better. Comparing it to solution in JUnit, we can run those tests, and you can see what it will generate here. It generated some amazing things. It's pretty the same, but it generates noise. So we don't want the noise here. We just want the pure results. Another thing that I want to share with you is maybe not so important, but comparing 2 objects. Can you tell me what is wrong with this test? With this one test? Don't be shy. Yes. So when we are comparing 2 objects, sometimes I saw tests like, oh, I'm not gonna create an equals and hash code because I don't know why, but people, they do not do this because they don't use the objects as a key in some hash map hash set. That's why they are not doing this, and then they end up with this kind of test. So imagine if you have some 17 parameters in the constructor, etc., and you will have 17 assertions here. That's madness. So what we should do, uh, hmm, we should compare just an object. So I'm gonna run this test and it should fail. Yes, it fails. So we can strip out this thing and we can do the hash code and equals. And in Spock, when you are comparing two objects, you can just use this. You don't need to invoke equals because it's going to invoke your equal here. So you can navigate to that and you can see how it works. It's pretty cool. Also, I was telling you about features in languages. So you can also use features from Kotlin. For example, this is quite new. It's not quite new, but I'm not sure if it's really popular. I showed you that you can name the test methods using sentences. You cannot do the same thing in Kotlin. So you can name your test method using sentences. It's like a language feature. You can put your name in those funny characters and you can run it and it's gonna work as a charm. So this is quite new thing. I'm not who is using Kotlin in tests? And who is using Kotlin in production? Cool. So as you can see, you can improve your tests readability. Not tests, but results. It's cool. Also, according to Kotlin, you can improve naming arguments. Sometimes you have a class with a function, and the function has some 4 parameters with the same type. And then when you have to invoke this method in your code, you have to remember. Of course that you can do something like this and check it, but I don't want to check it because it's not readable. When you are reading when you are writing this, it's readable. When you are reading this, it's insane. So what we can do here, we can use namings. So we can explicitly say what the parameter we are putting here and with in what order. So this is pretty cool. I have some more tips for you, but I will not. Maybe I can show you in the code, but I don't have any samples of that. Just tips. Make your test fail, because sometimes when you write tests, you just write tests and you do not fail your test. So just try to fail your test and check if the framework really work. In my career, I did a lot of bad things in code, as we all do. And sometimes you can, in Spock, do something like this. So you can forget to put the 0 star and or 1 star, and it's gonna compile, it's gonna run, you're gonna get a result, but you do not have any assertion here. So missing method exception. So now it's okay, it's working. I don't know why. Maybe something's changed. No signature. I don't know why. Okay. Maybe live coding is always tricky. I thought it was good, but they're all now it works. But sometimes you can do some things like that and you will not get any results. Okay. Okay, I see. Okay, thank you. Uh, so what else? The good technique that I can maybe not show you, but I can say to you that it's really helpful when you do the code reviews of your friend's code and you see some tests. Treat those tests like a code. So review tests and also use the code coverage to see the hits of the test in code and to analyze if the method is tested fully, because sometimes we are not perfect and we need tools to be better. So code coverage inside the IntelliJ is pretty powerful, and it will tell you if the tests covered all the method cases. So so yeah, so you can we can not sure if maybe I will show you the code coverage here, or maybe you know how it works and you use it, so it's pointless. What do you think? I have no connection with the audience. You are sleeping. Sorry. So what else? What else? The really nice strategy is to write tests to existing code when you do not understand the code. You can try to play with it using unit tests. So just put the random values as a parameter, some null, some edge cases, and you can get the logic from the method. I think that Michael Feathers recently had that post about that. It's pretty awesome, so you can go there to his blog and read it. Also, do not test happy paths only, because I saw a lot of tests with happy paths, with not edge cases. I think it's because people writing tests after writing code. But yeah, it's a side effect. What I have on my list more. This is some interesting. I think that you should avoid mocks. What do you think about mocking? It's pretty good. Yeah, but I saw some code and some tests with a lot of mocks inside, and if something wasn't work, it was impossible to see the problem, because verifications are the last thing that we want in our code, in our tests. So we should test the results. So I think that we should use mocks really wisely. And the last tip that I have is to not do the changes in our production code to write some tests. Sometimes I saw that someone committed the crime, not the crime, but someone committed to the repository changed code to test some private methods. This is the bad design thing. This is the bad design thing, and we should fix the design, not to break it down and open the implementation of the class. I saw some problems with that as well. So I think that's it from here. To sum up, naming matters. So we should treat our test like a normal code. We should review it and do not put the boilerplate there, because it's a code. Do not put unnecessary noise. So I showed you that you shouldn't put any finals, any privates, and anything to make your code more readable through comments, because it's just gonna generate noise. Try different frameworks. I know that Spock is kind of Groovy is kind of not the best language in our world. But in Spock, it is amazing. I think it's really powerful. So I heard that people say, "Oh, I'm not gonna use Spock because of Groovy." Okay, okay. Uh, I think it's pretty silly to say that, but you just try it. Also, you can try Spec, written in Kotlin, and you can use this framework and check if it's gonna fit your needs. Try different language in tests. This is a really good idea. I know that a lot of people try Kotlin in tests. That's why I asked for that, and it's a pretty cool thing because you will be able to get some portion of Kotlin. Because writing tests in Kotlin, it's not gonna you are not gonna use all functions or all features of this language. I tried it, and then when I started doing Kotlin in production, uh, I entered a whole new world of Kotlin. So keep it in mind, and also try to use tools like code coverage tools. TDD is also tool, and test first is also good. So try to do testing. Try test your code, and do not test all of your code. Try to test only a meaningful part of your codes, or just critical, because um, like 2 years ago I started to do testing in everything, and I ended up with more tests than code, and I had to maintain it, and it was madness. So that's why I'm doing this presentation right now. And if you if you do not testing, remember this guy. Just do it. It's I think it's a most interesting slide in my presentation. Yeah, because you were laughing. So yeah. So just do it. Try it, and stop saying that. Oh, I don't have time for that, because you have time. Okay. So thank you. I hope you have some questions that I will be able to answer. So yeah, thank you.
As you're talking about use case code coverage, to know if your test you have the paths or that kind of thing, if your tests are well made. Do you try any tool at PIT, this mutation test? It's a technique called mutation test to do this one, to check if your tests are well made.
Uh, I'm not sure if I.
Yes, are some frameworks for Groovy
Mhm.
and Java for all JVCs PIT, and
Okay.
it's mutation test, and that made it is take your code and
Okay.
change the conditions of
Okay.
if
Okay. I
or
see.
while, and
Okay.
check
Okay.
if the
Mutation
test
test, you're
fails.
meaning. Yeah. I haven't tried it. No. So I cannot tell you anything. But with code coverage, when I need to code make some review, I always run tests with code coverage, and I'm checking if the hits are okay. Even if you have more hits, like you can see that some part of a code have 20 hits. It's something bad because you are repeating the tests, so it's pointless. But
And other question is, for random values, you are talking about
Mhm.
testing random values. Do you try properties based properties? Sorry, property test based in?
No,
It's
no.
it's for example quick check. It's a framework that you can make property based testing
Okay,
in Java, and it made you pass a generator and hit test. Made the test with a lot of numbers, a
okay.
lot of
Some random
yeah,
values. Yeah.
and
Okay.
it's good
I heard about
because
that, but I didn't use that. Maybe it's
it's really good. Property based testing is really nice.
yeah. Probably if you have some business logic with calculations
It's
or something
for
like
all. You
that.
can use for all. For example, you can use for a database, or you can use for
Yeah.
calculate something, because he calculate the maximum and minimum entrance for a function.
Okay,
And
yeah,
that's it.
okay.
You can use
So for
we
this
use
is
a lot.
should be really, really great. Thank you.
Okay, you told about a lot about noise. I think it's a nice approach connected to theory of information. But I was wondering why in your presenter, I think you leave a lot of noise. Can you get there?
The presentation was not about presenter.
Yeah, I know, but
So yeah, but
like all this
I
attaching
know that
activity and keeping the view and everything should be in the upper class, so we won't need to do it all in
sorry.
each presenter.
Okay. So wait. So can you repeat what place in the code? Presenter?
The presenter, yeah, main activity.
Main activity presenter. Okay.
So you have a view. It's implement. The presenter is an interface, but interface can also keep the. It's not keeping the state of the view, but it can have abstract property, and also the attach and the
Okay.
detach methods should be also moved over there, so we wouldn't have to make it in every presenter, you know.
Okay. I think it's a great thing, but it's just a sample for showing some test tips, not code. But thank you. Okay. No more. Oh. Last chance.
Okay, hello. You speak about a lot of approaches with testing, Groovy, Spoke, all of that. Maybe you can share your experience and like big project, what you use on your daily basis. What of these approaches you use and
Okay.
what the
So
pluses of?
thank you. So this is what I showed you in my last company, because as I said, I'm a new company for 3 days. In my last company, we had Android project started from Android 1.6. It has 200,000 lines of code with something about 5,000 unit tests. And we used Kotlin in testing, Java, pure unit testing, Android unit testing, and also we use Spock a lot. So we have something about they have, not me anymore, but they have their 1,900 tests in Spock, and it runs great. In this kind of project, because it's really big, you know, the build time is not pretty fast, because the instant run with all those features doesn't work, but it works like a charm. So yes, I use multiple approaches. Like I use the Java to write tests. I used Spock, so Groovy, to write tests. And recently, when we started 7 months ago using Kotlin on production, also we put the Kotlin language to the test. So now they don't use Java for testing. They use Groovy and Kotlin.
Hello. I wanted to ask you, did you use TDD? And if so, do you have any tools for finding edge cases which you could find, for example, when you are developing tests after the actual code? And do you have any tools for finding?
I don't have any tools for that. The best tools is extreme programming. So if you pair program with other guy, you can do a ping pong. So one of the guy write tests and the other produce code. So I think it can help. It can lead you to have the method, the parameters more covered. I can say, and yeah. So did I answer your question?
Okay, thanks.
And and TDD. It's really hard to say that you are using TDD on your daily basis because TDD was designed to some specific cases. So I use TDD when I need to write some algorithm, some merging, data structures, mutations, or something like that, but not for all.
I see. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Okay. No more questions. I have no gifts. Sorry. But okay, so if we don't have any questions, you can reach me here. I'm gonna be somewhere here. We can talk about testing, about whatever you want. I prefer talking about life, not code. But but okay. So thank you very much for coming and for visiting the presentation. Thank you.